Alright, so we're going to fire up InDesign, make a new document. Remember, for each of these exercises, we're using the same information, this grid exercise information. I'm giving you department pictures, logos, photographs of work and of faculty, and also this bit of information is going to be our text. What we're going to be creating with this exercise is a series of postcards based off of this information. So the first thing we're going to do is set it up. I'm just going to go quickly through this. Initially, I'm just going to keep it at one page. We're going to turn off facing pages since we're not putting together a book. The size of your document is going to be half of a letter size. And there's actually a predefined size already set up. There's letter half. So instead of 8.5 by 11, it's just 8.5 by 5.5. The main thing to keep in mind is that your orientation needs to be portrait. We want it to be 5.5 wide, 8.5 tall. We do want to set up a couple of columns, and then we're going to have a 1/8 of an inch gutter. My margins, set those down to 1/4 of an inch, and we'll put some bleed if you want to do that of an 1/8 of an inch on each side. All cool? Nothing we hadn't done before? Okay, that's our setup. We'll say okay to this. And this is our document, there we go, that we've got set up. Now what we're going to create is one document, one side of the postcard that's going to be vertical, and the back side of the postcard needs to be horizontal, portrait type landscape. So I'm going to open up my Pages palette, and here's how we're going to make these modifications. In Pages, at the top of our document, you've got master pages. And if you don't remember, master pages are kind of like templates. If you make one, you can reproduce those pages over and over, and they all look exactly the same. If you edit one master page, all of your edits are changed as well. It's kind of like paragraph styles for pages. So we're going to make two of them. To access the master page, all you've got to do is double-click on the icon. You can see it's highlighted. Looks like it didn't change anything, but actually it is. We're working in the A master right now. To change this up, what we're going to do is to change the placement of each of our columns. If I try to select them now, you can see that nothing's going to happen. They're kind of locked down. You can unlock where your columns are and treat them just like any other guideline. To do this, you can go to Window, down to Grids and Guides, and simply uncheck Lock Guide, Column Guides. With it unchecked, now I can click on it and actually move the position and placement of that guide. Here's the essence of modifying your column grid. In the instructions, I'm asking you to place column 1 and column 2 in specific areas. Check out my, my ruler at the very top. You see the little line that follows my cursor? That way I know exactly where things are at. When you move your column guides, I want you to click on this right side of the column. If you click over here, it's going to be off by an 1/8 of an inch. So click right here. Where should my first column guide be on the first master page? 1.25, so 1 1/4. Right there is where it should be. So there's 1 1/4. Where's my second one? 2.5. Click on the right side, pull it to right at 2.5, right there. So there's my two columns, or three different columns set up in different ways. Notice this one's a little bit more narrow compared to the margin. A little bit wider, much wider from here. Actually, from here to here is exactly the same as from there to there. That's why we set that one up. Next thing we want to do is I want to change the name of A Master to front of the card. Here's how to edit this. Control and click on your master. Open up the master options. And here's where I can change the name of it from here as well. In this case, we'll call it Card Front. We'll say OK. Now I've got Card Front set up from here. Let's make a new one. Here's how to make a new master page. We want two different versions. At the very top right corner, click there. There's my new master that I can set up. In this case, now I can name it from the beginning. So we're going to call this Card Back. What's going to make this page different is rather than having the orientation portrait, we're just going to change it to landscape. Rotate it on its side. When we say OK, here it is set up from here. Notice in my pages I've got two different master pages. One's front, one's back. Now I need to set up my columns to be the appropriate width as well. So this one's going to be 2 1/8. and then next one's going to be right at 4. So this will divide off my area evenly between those two. We'll back out. So now I've got 2 different pages to work with. If I double click the one, this will go back into normal page editing and I can place these within here. What you're going to do, we're going to make a set of postcards. One set is going to be for undergraduates, the other set is going to be for graduates. And I want to see 3 different designs for each, front and back. So to set up the rest of your document, it's all going to be in the same document. I've got a front of a card. I can click on the back, drag it in. Now I've got a back of the card as the next one. If I need another design, there's the front, and then there's the back, then front and back. Pretty simple, really easy to set it up. And you can see now as I scroll through, I've got 2 different sizes or 2 different styles already set up for each one. Front, back, front, back. So let's work on just the undergraduate postcard. If I open up my information, I'll scroll this to the side. Here's what we're going to be working with. Remember, you've got your headline, you've got your overview. For the undergraduate card, I want you to place everything else that's on here except for the graduate information. We only want to do an undergraduate degree card first. Contact info has to be on there, headline. I even want you to put the logo on there somewhere. And you can use any of the photographs that I gave to you as well. So let's play around. Let's see what we can do with this one. Working in page 1. I'll put that back over there. First thing you need to do is obviously put down your headline. And I'm going to work just in black and white for now. And I can deal with formatting. As far as width goes, now I've got from margin to margin, I've got from this margin, or I've got from this margin. If I wanted to, I can break the text up, put everything in its own text box, and start playing around with the size variation of each. So maybe I could have something, let's see, Mississippi College Department of Art can go from one column to the other, or from this column to this column. So there's making use of that design structure. Let's see, I could move it over to here. There's that. That's the setup for this one. It really starts to come into play once you get a nice body copy of text. Let's copy that in. Pull a guide, paste it in there, start formatting it. That would be a viable option for that one. Let's see, what else do we have? What do you think? What else could you do within this grid structure? Y'all will tell me. Besides changing the formatting of my text. What would you do? Add photos? Before we add photos, how would you change the text around? What else could we do to really make use of the area that I'm working in? Tracking and kerning? More about the structure. Give me a structure type thing. Could take this text, place it over here. Make it 2 columns. Now it lines up. Keep in mind though, I've got text running right on the edge, so maybe that's not a good idea. I could do something like this. Kind of making use of the columns, got a little open area. Not really making good use of this particular thing. If you do make 2 columns in a text box, you won't be able to move this particular set of text, just to let y'all know about that. But I could keep it at 1 column, and I can go over that. Hey, I can take my text, rotate it sideways, and now I can work vertically with this. I've got this particular area to work within. Lining up my text along something like that, working within this structure. Let's add some photographs to it. Let's actually play around. Maybe I'll put this back to where it was. Okay, pictures. As far as picture sizes, just make it fit your columns. Drop in some student art. Make sure it's sized up well. Make sure it's cropped in well. could put photos on one side and the next side. Let's see here. Uh-oh, that one is not right. There we go. I can make use of the whole thing since that's a wide photo. Start lining stuff up. Y'all get the point? The main thing is I can quickly create and recreate and place things simply because I'm following the structure of the grid that I'm working on. If I wanted it to fill it up, now I can start changing, leading, kerning, tracking, push and pull, change up different fonts, do stuff like that. That's a viable design. That makes use of the grid structure that I'm working on because it's modified between those two. As far as the back page goes, I do need to put my undergraduate information, so let's throw on a type. Since this is a postcard, I don't want you to put any information on the right side of the back. Only work within this left side. Most postcards, you're going to put your address on the right side, so they want you to keep it open and blank from there. We could make this a 2-column. I do need to put my logo in there somewhere. Oops, not a text box. That works. Hey, let's put in a picture. I'll tell you what, let's get crazy. We'll do something like this. Give me something dark. That'll work. Place a picture, send it to the back. Now I can put reverse type in front of it. And that could be a viable design with this. I'm working within my grid structure. All I've got to do is play around with placement of all the different elements once they are designed. I can rotate things, add photos, remove photos as necessary. Make use of each area that you have. You're going to make 3 postcards, different designs, use the same structure for the undergraduate. Then once you've got 3 of those, drag on 3 more sets, so you'll actually have 12 pages total, and do 3 sets for the graduate information. So just for the undergraduates, use only this. Don't include any of this. I do need to add my contact info somewhere on this design. And just for the graduates, use only the graduates, not the undergraduate information from there. All cool? To save it, we're going to save it the same way we did last time. Export it as a PDF. In my case, I'll just make it a small size PDF. We'll call it mod column. And also, I want you to package your design. Under File and Package, you will need to save it. So we'll call it mod column. Remember, when you package your designs, it's just going to step through a lot of instructions or things to fill out. You're creating a folder that contains your fonts and all of your graphics that you're working on. It will give you a warning saying, hey, are you sure you want to copy that font? We'll say OK. And then once it's done, you should have a folder. And inside of it, there's your InDesign, there's your fonts that you used, and here it is, my PDF. Do y'all remember how to compress the folder? Because you're going to upload this in a zip format. Excuse me. Control click. There's compress. Give it just a second. Now this will make the zip folder. These 2 items are what you'll turn into Moodle for this project and all the other exercises that you're working on. If you do finish up early, you're welcome to work on the the modular grid that we started on last time as well. Any questions? I know that went fast. Like I said, it was going to be very, very easy.